What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. Today we are diving into one of the most fun prismatic hunter setups that I have played in quite a while. We're going to have infinite uptime on our invisibility, insane regeneration for our grenade, and it's still going to be able to do a ton of damage even if we're just using our grapple. I know the grapple got a little bit of a nerf, but it is still dominating in in-game content. So let's break down the subclass, the loadout, as well as the armor and artifact mods, taking this into some -40 content and seeing how well it can perform. And I will give you some options. I know you see we're using a class item. There's only one specific perk on here that I actually think is necessary just to get the most out of this build. And there's an option if you don't have both. Now, to break down the subclass, we are using Silk Strike solely because of the benefits we really get with Woven Mail and the artifact perks, not necessarily for the damage, but it does still do really good damage. Now, for the melee, we're opting to go with Threaded Spike. This is my preferred melee of choice. However, if you're going to swap it out, I'd probably go with Combination Blow. It's still a really good option. Then there's Grapple Grenade, which is going to be the bread and the butter of this build. We're going to get it back extremely fast. It doubles as a powered melee as well as a grenade, which will be important in a moment. Next up, our aspects, we're running Ascension solely because it gives us Amplified, which will give us that 15% reduction to damage, jolts combatants, as well as stuns overload champions. Then there is Stylus Executioner, which is going to be another must-have for this build. So when we defeat a target that's affected by any elemental debuff, it grants us invisibility. Now, after performing Stylus Executioner, our next melee attack while invisible will weaken the target, meaning our grapple melee punch will cause the target to be weakened, just helps it aid in doing more damage. Now, we're going to have a ton of ways to go invisible, not just from our melee, but we'll get into that shortly. Now, for the fragments that I prefer with this build, the first is Facet of Dawn. This allows us to go Radiant off a powered melee hit, which will then allow some of our weapons to stun barrier champions. Facet of Purpose, so every time we pick up an Orb of Power, we will have Woven Mail giving us a damage reduction. Then there's Facet of Balance. This is always a go-to for me on any prismatic setup. So rapidly defeating targets with light damage will grant us melee energy, and rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage will grant us grenade energy. Then I'm using Facet of Honor here, so when we collect an elemental tangle or pick up, it just helps give us energy of the same in our Transcendence, but I'm using it to get 100 on my melee. This one is entirely up to you to swap out. Now, there's one other that I'll show you that you can swap out if you don't have this specific class item. I'm opting to go with Spirit of Assassin and Spirit of Gerfalcon. Reason being is every time we perform a finisher or a powered melee, it will grant us invisibility. Now, I know that's not necessary when we have Stylus Executioner, but if you use a finisher or your powered melee, it's still just nice to have constant uptime on invis. Then I really like Spirit of Gerfalcon here, so your void weapons will gain volatile rounds after we emerge from being invisible. So we're constantly going to be invisible because of Spirit of Assassin, but also because of Stylus Executioner. So Stylus Executioner won't just make us invisible, but it helps us get more damage out of our melee. Then Spirit of Assassin is going to make sure that we have a constant uptime from that invisibility, which will also give our void weapons volatile rounds. Now, if you don't have a Spirit of Assassin and Spirit of Gerfalcons, you can easily swap out one, Facet of Honor or Facet of Balance for Facet of Facet of Bravery. Wow. So defeating targets with your grenade, which will be your powered melee grapple, will grant volatile rounds to your void weapon. Now, if you're also running a strand weapon, it will grant you unraveling rounds to your strand weapons just by getting a grapple melee punch. And of course, defeating the target. So that's an option that you do have as well. Another really good combo, if you can manage to get it, is Spirit of Assassin and Spirit of Synthoceps. I also really liked running Spirit of Assassin with Spirit of Arachne, so we had constant uptime on Woven Mail as well. Now, the loadout that I'm opting to run, one of the really heavy can go whatever way you want it to go. The two main ones I want to focus on are our special weapon, which is Bastion. It did get a little bit of a buff. It stuns unstoppable champions. So basically you get Saint's Fist, so rapidly fires 3 spreads of just little funness. Now, after a successful melee hit, this weapon will gain increased damage, reduced charge time, improved reload for a short duration. Now, also getting most pellets in a hit is going to increase melee damage for a short duration. So that, to me, Saint's Fist is just a wonderful perk. It does last 3 seconds. I think it used to last about 1.5. So a little bit of buff is nice. It just helps chunk down tankier targets. Now, we're going to be going invisible just a tremendous amount of the time, with Spirited Falcon granting us volatile rounds. We're opting to go with Reckless Oracle. This is a Garden of Salvation weapon, but it is not necessary. You can easily go to the Drifter and focus a Gnawing Hunger just by buying it. No engrams are needed, and you can get a Void auto rifle with Demolitionist. That is really going to help us get our grenade back just by getting kills. We're also pairing this with Repulsor Brace, so when we defeat a Void debuff target, it is going to grant us an overshield. So every time we have volatile rounds, every time we defeat that Void target, not only are we going invisible again, proccing Stylus Executioner, but we're also generating grenade energy and then consistently giving ourselves an overshield. Again, heavy weapon, you can go with whatever you want. I do like running a sword here with Eager Edge, not just for movement, but since we're going to be Radiant a lot of the time, and this is going to be volatile because it's Void, it also can stun barrier champions, which just is an added bonus. Now, for some of the artifact mods that I really like with this build specifically, first up is going to be Shield Crush. So while we have Woven Mail or Void Overshield, our melee will recharge faster and deal more damage. And while we're Amplified and Radiant, our grenade recharges faster and deals more damage. Then there is Tangled Web. So when we create a tangle, basically through our Unraveled from our grapple melee or from our Threaded Spike, it is going to suspend nearby enemies. I didn't realize how much fun this was actually going to be until I started using it, and this is definitely going to be one of my go-to artifact perks for a while. Then, we have your regular Threaded Blast. We're going to create a lot of tangles. We destroy a tangle with strand damage, that being our Threaded Spike. It is going to make that explosion a little bit bigger. Cauterize Darkness, you don't need. Elemental Daze is nice when you stun champions. It just creates that elemental explosion. And we also have Refresh Threads. So when we pick up an element matching our subclass or a tingle while we have our strand super, it will grant energy to our least charged ability. Then there's also Tightly Woven. So while we have Woven Mail, we will gain increase to our grenade and our class ability stats. Just aids in getting us more damage and those stats back faster. Lastly, that's really all you're going to need. If you're running a pulse rifle instead of one of these, anti-barrier pulse is also beneficial. Don't need to worry about the rest of it because frankly, we can stun overloads with our Ascension. We can stun unstoppables with our Bastion, and then we can stun barriers with our sword. So now let's get into the armor mods really quickly because there's something really fun here that I myself didn't realize for the longest time. And once I started realizing it and running it on a strand grapple build, it has just made things so much more fun. So for our gauntlets, for our helmet, we're going to go with Dynamo, so it reduces the super cooldown when we use our class ability near targets. Hands-on, so we'll gain bonus super energy on melee kills, then avoid Siphon to create orbs off rapid kills with our Reckless Oracle. Now for the gauntlets, this is where you want to be running heavy-handed as well as firepower, because one grapple melee will create 2 separate orbs of power. Now let me show you this real quick, because this was something that I didn't realize for the longest time. So all you have to do is grapple and you create two orbs. It's utterly insane. Of course, you have a little bit of a cooldown from both of those, but then you can easily follow it up in a little bit with your Threaded Spike and create another orb of power. And again, once your grenade comes back, just grapple melee again, and then there's your 4th orb of power. It just makes creating orbs so much more efficient and so much easier to do. Now we're also opting to run with Impact Induction, so when we cause damage with a powered melee, it reduces that grenade cooldown. Chest-wise, Void Resistance mods, Solar, whatever activity you're doing, you want to pair it with those. You could also toss on a Concussive Dampener and then 2 resistance mods for that activity. For the legs, I'm opting to go with Better Already, so our health begins to regenerate immediately by picking up an orb, a Void Weapon Surge to aid in giving us more damage with our Void Auto, and then we want to go with Absolution, so every time we pick up an orb, it gives us ability energy for all of our abilities. Then lastly, on our class item, I always like the classic Reaper Powerful Attraction combo. So if you don't know, every time you perform your class ability, your dodge, your ascension, Reaper procs, so your next weapon will create an orb of power. And when you use your class ability, you can collect orbs within 12 meters automatically. Lastly is Outreach, so reduces our melee cooldown every time we use our class ability. You could also toss on Bomber here, but frankly, I have 100 grenade stat and my melee stat is right around the same thing. We have more ways to get our grenade back faster, so I'm tossing on Outreach instead. Now for the stats that I'm really focusing on is 100 melee, 100 grenade, and we were able to get 100 super at the same time. So that's what we ended up going with for that, and trying to get our class ability as high as possible as well. Now that we've broken down this build, I don't think it really matters what type of armor you want to run. I like focusing on Paragon as well as Grenade. We have some Gunner thrown in there just for armor stats, Brawler because of the class item. But now let's take this into some -40 content and see what this can actually do. So we have to do weapon takedowns. We're not necessarily going to go for the bonus objective here. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. We just really want to showcase this build. Want to see if we can do it in time at -40. I normally run -30 for these, but you know what? We figured, why not give it a shot? There we go. Now we're invis, so we got volatile rounds. Overshield is happening. Looks like I feel like he stayed there. Okay. So, how we really want to optimize this build, we'll show you once we get to our barrier champion here. There's our invis. Now we have volatile rounds giving us a void overshield again. So basically we can just keep re-proccing volatile, which is really, really nice for this build. He's got an arc shield, so let's go pop that. Let's sever him. Again, giving us volatile, giving us Stylus Executioner. And then since we can finish him, we can also proc it from Spirit of Assassin. We're just gonna kill a bunch of these guys really fast because I frankly don't want to blow myself up with a Curse Thrall. All right, so basically we're gonna shoot. And there we go. We are able to pierce it with our sword, finish him right there just to get Stylus Executioner. Or sorry, Spirit of Assassin to proc again. I feel like this is probably the first time I think I've ever ran a sword, not just for movement, but then actively using it for barriers solely because of Radiant. It's relatively easy to use, and I think it's just kind of funny. Kill that guy. Now he's going to be unraveled, so we can kill him. He's also volatile, so we'll get this kill. Dude, -40s are just chunky, my friend. Okay, we'll finish you for that. This is why it's like not actually getting weapon defeats. Still have volatile. He was also unraveled, giving us just our void overshield, woven mail because we're picking up orbs of power. Is there a guy over here? One random acolyte. We still have volatile rounds. That was really surprising. Oh, dude. Okay, I'm not even gonna, no. Those guys are really cool, just like random mini bosses in any solo ops if you've never come across them or if you've had trouble defeating them. Frankly, they are not worth it to go after. Every time I've killed one, I've gotten maybe 1 out of 3 times I'll get something to drop out of it, and it doesn't happen that much. So frankly, I don't feel like it's necessary. There's that coming into play, getting a little suspend right there just from killing him with Strand Energy. And this is where we're going to start proccing a lot of invisibility solely because of all the defeats we're going to be able to get on here. Volatile rounds every single time. It's just insane how easy it is to survive because you're invisible all the time. Now we can grapple that, not lose it, which is really handy. It's not necessary because like we're going to get our grenade back a lot of the time. Let's just grab this. Now he's unraveled and dead. And invisible again. Like the one thing that I really like about this build is it does play heavy into abilities, which I know not everybody wants to be doing, but frankly, there's something fun about constant overshield and constant just invisibility. Plus grapple melee is one of the most fun aspects with a hunter, I think. Like I said, if you want to run something like combination blow over your threaded spike, you can definitely do that. Your grapple melee, you'll do more damage with melees in general. But frankly, I just like the ability to sever targets, making them, I think it's 40 or 45% less damage they do to us, which to me just comes in handy because I like to play very aggressive for no reason sometimes. And severing those targets definitely helps. Okay, let's go grapple melee this guy. We have half our grenade energy back from that. Get a couple kills and we'll get it fully refunded. That's back. There we go. Now we'll pick this up for Woven Mail. Get our Void Overshield back. And now we just have one crystal left, which should be up top. That messed up my melee, but okay. That saved my life right there. See, that's where I'm like talking, I'm like playing just a little bit overly aggressive, and then I put myself in a bad situation. But thanks to just being able to get that kill with volatile rounds to go invisible, save my life, is quite handy. Now we're just going to kill these just for the weapon defeats. Severed. And Bastion does a chunk of damage. Crystals are dead. Now those guys despawned. Hey, look, an engrip. So if you guys have been watching this recently, we've been trying to do a lot more where we walk through and play through the build and talk as we're doing it. If you guys do like this content, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new. And with no further ado, no more self-promotion, let's go shoot some more bad guys. Procking Sever. Right there's 2 orbs. And that's the one nice thing too, is we were able to create a ton of orbs, have constant uptime on our abilities, not really feeling the need to use our super yet, which has been really nice. We will probably use it in the boss room just for sake of using it. Get our melee back after we use that. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna go strand grapple this guy. Even at -40, it still does some decent damage. Obviously, not as good as it used to be, but I still think that it is actually worth using. But I am working on an absolutely insane pure arc hunter build at the moment too, which I can't wait to share with you guys. It's honestly probably one of the best arc builds that I think I've ever used on a hunter. There's some insane changes that have happened, especially with Tempest Strike and Combination Blow, and I think it's definitely going to be worth checking out. So if you guys are looking for a non-prismatic build, stay tuned. I just said no more self-promotion, and then I just promoted another build. Anyways, proc Saint's Fist, that does half his damage gate. Use that to get out of here. Proc damage resistance. Again, severs him. We'll probably do this. Just having prismatic giving us a little bit of a damage nerf or reduction there too. Okay, so a volatile round, so we want to get some kills real quick. Proccing our overshields. There's that back. So even on -40, this doesn't feel that bad. I will say though, like to really get a good idea of the build, I feel like taking this into the -30, 40 Pinnacle Ops would be a little bit better, or even just taking this into any type of Mythic difficulty. So if you guys want to see builds that are made for Mythic, let me know down below. I'd be happy to check those out. They just take a lot of time to, that's why I don't normally do those, but hey, we'll give it a shot. And we'll just reproc Saint's Fist and Saint's Fury again. And our sword got the kill. So I would say we still were able to do this within time limit, not going for a super fast time, really focusing on just making sure I can showcase this build for you guys. If you do enjoy this video, if you want to check this build out, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have a build that you want me to check out, drop into our Discord, into the Can You Craft section, leave me a dim link and let me know, because I would love to check out all of your guys' builds and see how other people play this game and showcase them here on the channel. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.